Tracy from Kazadans Equestrian. Welcome to my weekly video. This week we're going to talk about horses behaving badly, or more precisely, are they behaving badly or are they in pain? Horses can't talk to us and they can't tell us what's going on with their body, and not only that, they've actually evolved to hide pain and pretend there's nothing wrong with them, which is a protective mechanism for a prey animal. This all ties back to a horse's owner and our responsibility to know our horse is normal. Now, I've looked at this in terms of health. Have a quick look at my 5-day challenge for information on that. In fact, we probably do that less than looking at normal behaviour. But unless the person who understands the horse's normal behaviour can notice a change, even a subtle change, quite often our horses are simply suffering through some pain issues. So one really important thing to understand in this area is the horse's brain and its cognitive abilities. If you need a revision, go back and have a look at how your horse's brain works, but they're simply not capable of complex thought processes and complex problem solving. So if you've looked at your horse and says he is trying to get out of work, he's pretending he's lame, he's putting it on because he doesn't like to do this, you are simply wrong. The horse has no ability to be able to think that deeply, and you are missing the reason for the horse's behaviour. So some of these behaviour indicators are really obvious. If you look out in the paddock and you see your horse stretching out frequently to urinate, or looking at its flank, or kicking at its belly, or laying down and rolling, most of us horse owners know already that behaviour is indicating a possible colic situation and to call a vet. We can also notice sometimes when we bring our horses in to look at or go and look at them that they look slightly depressed, slightly lethargic, dropping their head stance, sort of a more lazy posture. And to us, that behaviour also indicates that maybe your horse is sick. So sickness is sometimes easier to detect, but what about other minor pain issues, even subtle pain issues? A horse can have a lameness issue with such subtle signs that haven't been identified by their owner. And these are the sorts of things we need to learn how to recognise. Sometimes we're not seeing even a shortness in stride, but we're noticing a difference in the behaviour of the head or the behaviour in accepting contact under saddle. Sometimes all we're noticing is a reluctance to go forward, maybe a reluctance to go over jumps that it would normally go over. All of these sorts of behaviour issues can indicate pain. One of the problems that we have in discerning the difference between pain-related or obedience-related behaviours is that the things that we often see are very similar outcomes. And these are also behaviours that we perceive as misbehaviour, but are also pain response in horses. So let's go through some examples of that. An escape reaction, bucking or rearing, etc., yes, can be a misbehaviour, yes, can be poor training, can very much also be pain related. Avoidance behaviour. Moving away when you're tacking up, head tossing during girthing, or even not being able to catch your horse, exactly the same. Indicative of pain or a lack of training and obedience. Muscle tension, lack of suppleness, for example. Is your horse not trained to listen to leg? Do you just apply more leg? Or are we looking at muscle tension or muscle problems here? Abnormal posture and locomotion. I'm talking here about anything related to contact resistance, tension in the body, uptightedness, not moving through correctly from behind, proppy gait, tossing head, resisting rider. Anything abnormal like that can both indicate pain and training or behaviour problems. So if we're looking at a misbehaviour problem, you're likely to find that this horse will respond to training, maybe either a different training technique, taking a few steps back in your training to start and train the correct response again. You will get a response to this if it's behavior related. You can put a different rider on, and maybe preferably a rider who's more experienced than yourself, maybe more balanced, and check whether you get a response to this different rider. Check whether this rider gets the same response as you do under saddle. This is a really kind of quick and easy way to determine if the horse is pain or it's a miscommunication between horse and rider. We need to involve our vet. It seems to be something that horse people are so hesitant to do, but we need to know there's a lack of veterinary findings, and we also need to know whether this behaviour changes with a short course of pain medication under veterinary advice or not. If we do find pain, it's important to find the underlying causes. For example, sometimes a back pain is easy to see, feel, and maybe treat. However, that pain can be coming from lower down in the horse, and quite often is. So if the horse is not in pain, let's again respect their inability for complex thought and problem solving. This means that the misbehaviour that we perceive is a lack of our communication. So let's go and review our training techniques. Are you using correct learning theory to teach your horse? And how good is your timing, for example? If you're a little bit slower in correction of behaviour problems when your timing's concerned, the horse simply will take longer to learn the response that you want. Frustrated riders quite often resort to something harsher, a harsher bit, spurs, stronger leg, nagging, etc., etc. Now, I am definitely not saying there is no place for this in the training of a horse, but the reliance and the consistent reliance of this to get the response you want is not a good training tool. We really need to be trying to get and using correct training theory to make sure your horse is giving the correct response from your lighter aids. If the behaviour is something that you're inadvertently rewarding, acknowledge this. It's so simple. If the horse bucks and you get off, you've simply rewarded the horse. Now, if you're like me, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm not so good at that. So I need to look at a completely different way to be able to retrain that behaviour in the horse. Anything you have just done prior to the horse showing that misbehaviour is what the horse is learning. They're learning then that this is the reward they get, this is the cue they got, this is the behaviour, and this is the reward. So I'll say that again. This is the cue they got from you, this is the response they gave, and this is the reward they get. So any of your misbehaviours, look at those three things. You may well be inadvertently giving cues and rewarding the wrong behaviour. Like I said, most of these are human problems. So most of them are poor riding technique. Now, let's face it, a lot of us can't help that. We're trying our best. That's certainly me. I'm including me in this for sure. We're doing our best, but this riding technique doesn't really give the horses the best chance of learning. So we need to admit to ourselves where we are and get help when needed as well. A poor understanding of learning theory. There is so much information out there about classic learning theory in us and all other animals, including horses. Check that the learning theory you're using is a correct one. The other problem we have is unrealistic expectations. I see this a lot in young horses brought on very quickly. It's really important that they have the musculature they need to even perform movements that they need to. You will get fatigued horse, you will get a horse that can't carry itself as long, and it simply gets frustrated, and you'll get misbehaviour due to your unrealistic expectations of what your horse should be able to do. Some other examples of management problems are ill-fitting tack, hoof care and trimming. It's been said for many years, no hoof, no horse. Do you look there as soon as you have an issue and double check the symmetry of your horse's foot, the hoof and pastern angle, and is your hoof trimming correct and helping your horse? Think about how much weight they're carrying on this single digit, and if this isn't balanced, it's really important. Malnutrition? Are they missing really important vitamins and minerals that either help them think, build muscle, etc.? There could be any musculoskeletal problems. We could have tight muscles, torn muscles, and if you're not picking that up, a horse will show resistance to that. Let's also not forget abnormalities that can cause problems in a horse, such as conformation. How is your horse built? Are you asking a horse that's incredibly straight behind to come under and do proper dressage tests? They're going to find that hard. It's unrealistic expectation again, and you're likely to get misbehavior. Vision problems, head tossing, head raising to one particular side when we're approaching an object, say to jump. Does your horse have a vision problem? Let's not forget looking at some of these things before assuming the horse is just being naughty. And the last thing I want to leave you with is the Stoic Horse. The Stoic Horse is wonderful. I have a couple here on my property, but I also have a princess. Now, Spider, my princess, he's much better adjusted to this domestic environment because if there's anything wrong with him, I will know. He will tell me. It's clear communication, clear signal, abscess, three-legged lame. I also have horses on the property who hide extremely well their pain, which is what they've evolved to do. Thoroughbreds weren't bred for this. They were bred to just run fast. So being stoic may not be in their repertoire. My stock horse, for example, is incredibly stoic as well. So if you have one of these beautiful stoic souls of your horses, please be even more attuned to their behavior because it could be a slight change in the flight arc of one leg that is the only indication that you're going to get that your horse has some big injury coming. So I just want to leave you, I guess, with the ability to question more thoroughly, is this behavior training, disobedience, or is it pain? And remember, please, always, if it is a change in behavior and not your horse's normal behavior, assume we're looking at pain and try to work through that first, and you'll get a much better partnership with your horse. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to share this around, especially anybody you know who's having some misbehavior problems with their horse. Subscribe to my channel, click the like, add any comments you would like below, and I'll see you next week.